Good Monday afternoon to you. It's a few minutes past 4, but thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend was a good one. Thanks for joining us. Plenty of Browns to talk about. It wasn't pretty, but it was a win in the division over the Baltimore Ravens. The defense held the Ravens just 3 points. Offense did enough to get a win. Let's head into the locker room here. Kevin Stefanski addressing his team after beating the Ravens Saturday afternoon.
The team that plays harder, longer, that team's in this locker room right here, okay? I come bearing stats. Who likes stats? 4th down stop on the first drive. Hell of a job. Interception by number 21. Hell of a job. Forced fumble recovery by number 43. How about 96? Was it you? Got this big old hand up. 1 touchdown in that game, and it was on a 94-yard touchdown drive. Offense 2 for 2 on 4th down, including bringing the big guy in for the quarterback sneak. Okay, special teams. Corey, 70-yard punt. 2 tackles inside the 25 on kickoff. Hell of a job. And then at the end of the game, right, who plays harder longer? At the end of the game, they get the ball, they go backwards, okay? Offense gets the ball, they know we're running it, we know we're running it, first down, and then the best play in football, take a knee, all right? Great job. I cannot tell you how proud I am of this team, of these coaches, of this group, of this whole locker room for fighting your off. That is what it is about. I appreciate you guys. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Also 92.3 The Fans, The Barber Shop, Saturday afternoons, 8 until noon. G. Bush, it's a win. It wasn't pretty, but those are the games good teams usually find a way to win that the Browns haven't before this week.
Yeah, those are the games that you try to find a way to win and give the Browns credit. They did an opportunity. They did a good job of getting that win. And when you take a look at it, wasn't pretty. 13-3. Deshaun Watson didn't throw for a bunch of points or throw for a bunch of touchdowns. But what you can see is the progression. You started to see him not miss some of those players. You started to see him scramble for a 17-yard gain. You started to see the Browns not shoot themselves in the foot. And when you have inclement weather the way you did, you're able to run the ball the way you did with Nick Chubb. You're able to do some things like that. You get in a situation where you feel good about being able to come out with a win and your best players made plays. Denzel Ward, I'm glad he joined the focus, joined the fray. He almost had 2 big plays, 2 interceptions. One he got and one he almost had at the end of the game. And so these are things that the win doesn't look overly impressive, but the Browns still have an opportunity if they win the rest of their games to go 9-8 the rest of the season. And so I think it's a positive step forward, especially what we saw from the quarterback position in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, before we say the defense is fixed because they held them to 3 points, the Ravens did only score 3 points. But they ran the ball 28 times and averaged over 7 yards a carry. I can't figure out why they continued to throw the ball when they were running the ball like they were, but I wasn't going to ask them.
Hey, I'm not going to ask them either. Man, it just seems like some of these coaches get to a point and get to a situation where they want to be a team that throws the ball. And I don't understand why you would do that with a Brett Hundley when you're running the ball well. You got J.K. Dobbins going well. Gus Edwards had a few big runs early in the game. It's cold. Trust me, I was out there for the pregame show. It's cold. It's nighttime. The ball is frozen. Why wouldn't you just turn around and hand the ball off to one of your best running backs and get the running game going? Because it wasn't like the Browns were stopping the run. And it just seems like they got pass happy in the wrong and opportune time. And that game was a 13-3 game. We couldn't get the field goals because Kate York struggled during the game. So that game was never really that close to that far apart where I felt you had to leave the running game, especially 13-3, 10 points. That don't mean nothing. They could have been handing the ball off and continue to do that. I just think that it was a bad game plan, and they actually pulled the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. We've seen that a couple of times, but again, that's why we're not going to question that. All right, top Pro Football Focus grades for the defensive side of the ball Saturday, and you alluded to this. These are two names to see at the top that are really good. John Johnson III has a bruised thigh, had to leave the game, but a 93.1 Pro Football Focus grade, highest on the defense. Denzel Ward second, Myles Garrett third, and then you got Greg Newsome and Grant Delpit fourth and fifth. We haven't seen that a lot. Myles is up there, but to see John Johnson III and Denzel, that is a good sign. That is something that you take and you want to see more and more and more of.
Those two guys did a good job of being playmakers, not just being in your gap, not just being strategically next to a receiver. They did good jobs of punching the football out, getting turnovers, being playmakers, and that's what you need your best players to play like. Those are one of the highest paid guys on the entire team. John Johnson was a huge free agent acquisition by this team. They counted on him a lot. They thought he was going to be a linchpin of that secondary. And furthermore, we thought the secondary in general was going to be a strong suit of this team. But it turns out that you got Emerson, who has played the best. You still haven't got a turnover from Greg Newsome, but you start to see his coverage grade go up a little bit. And big-time performance by Denzel Ward, because Denzel Ward, has got up there to a 90-something% interception, almost had a chance to get his hand on the second interception. Those are the plays that you need. Those are the type of atmosphere and the plays from these guys in the secondary that we were looking for from the jump of the season. And to bring it full circle, they were the guys that had the missed assignments. Those were the guys who were busting plays. Those were the guys who weren't tackling. So when you get two of those guys, anybody above Myles Garrett or somewhere in that range, it just shows you that you played a very good game, and you can win football games when those guys show up. So shout out to them. They needed a big game. They needed a game and to come out and do something. When, by the way, the Baltimore Ravens really wanted that football game, especially in the pegging order with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep. Bengals now in first place in the division. Well, it was the first home game for Deshaun Watson. He talked about that as well as playing in the cold weather.
It was fun. It was great. It was a great, fun game on the lake. We had especially in that fourth quarter when it started coming down and swirling around, but it didn't bother me. My job was going out there, just competing, making plays, getting the ball to the guys that needed to get it, taking care of the ball, and just, letting Chubb and Kareem, tote the ball. So it was fun to be out there, and my first home game was a victory. It was special, so many more to come.
How big was that after Ward's interception to take it 90 yards and get in a rhythm and it really seemed like you guys were clicking all the way around?
It was definitely, we got a little tempo going, and so we wanted to kind of keep them off, balance for what they wanted to do. And that's what we did. We kept it simple. We called the plays. Kevin and AVP and Drew and Bill and all the offensive coaches, did a great job of calling that drive. And that's what we want to do, just get a ball to the guys, like I said before, get a balls and take care of the ball, as much as possible. And that's what we did. Guys made big plays in the receiving game, and then we made some big runs also.
Yeah, and G. Bush, that drive, kind of watching what they did on that drive, it was in rhythm. It looked easy. Those are the type of things you want to see more and more as the season goes. That drive shows you what Deshaun Watson does well, or showed you what Deshaun Watson can do well.
Well, first and foremost, let me shout out to Deshaun Watson. I'm lucky we got that win, because that outfit right there, that was a winner's outfit. that outfit wouldn't have looked so good if we'd have took that L. But I see you got a couple Christmas presents there, Deshaun, early. Santa has been nice to you. But no, he talked about it. He mentioned the whole doggone offensive playing staff, right? Because guess what? I think they're doing a good job of easing him into it. You can see that he's more comfortable. You can start to see that, he's showing more personality. He's showing more, I guess, want to show more poise in the pocket. And he's starting to be a playmaker a little more. So, you can tell he's a guy who has a lot of talent and is just working his way into it. And now, third game in, he goes from, I give him a D, or some people give him an F. He goes to a C. The second game, this game, I give him a B. I think he did everything he needed to do. He didn't really rush anything. He didn't really speed up. He didn't force any balls. He got, the ball to whoever they needed to go to. And guess what? It showed that, hey, I can still do this. And sometimes as a player, you need that oomph. You need that confirmation that, look, I may have been gone for a while, but guess what? I'm not done. I still got them traits. I still can get out when I need to. I still got the accuracy. I still got my feet to use. So when you start putting plays together, they can just be small plays. When you start to put those small plays together, guess what happens? You get that confidence. And I saw him in his outfit, he was confident. And in the way he's talking about his staff and his team, he's confident right now. And so it's good to see that with Deshaun Watson.
All right, before we go to break, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Dave, a topic we have discussed for quite a while this season is the Browns lack that true leader that motivates the other players to excel at the highest level. Saturday's game gave me hope that we might have found that leader in Deshaun Watson, that he motivates his team with his actions and play on the field. The Browns have talent, but it needs to come out and be displayed on every play. Hopefully the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, our new leader, will bring that talent and effort out on this team, and they will excel at the highest level with victories. I also like to give a high praise out to our Cleveland Cavaliers. What a gutsy performance on Friday and Saturday, but not giving up. Playing as a true team, both offensively and defensively, to get the job done and finish with victories.
All right, as always, appreciate all the voicemails. Agree about the Cavs, but to the leader of Deshaun Watson, they're paying him to be the leader, and guys like playing with him. We know that.
Oh, yeah. People love playing with him. You can see that on the field. You had to love the game on Saturday. I'll tell you why, because if you ain't got really nothing to play for, and when that wind started coming off that lake, it reminded you it was some business decisions being made out there. I was sitting out there and I'm like, listen, there is no reason it's this cold. It was going through my hat, my toboggan, my hoodie. And I thought it was really cool. Deshaun Watson wanted to show, hey, it was a lot made of the fact that it's cold in Cleveland and he did not really particularly care to play in cold. Guess what? He came out there with no sleeves on. And I'm telling you, if you don't know it, that's the sign of all peace treaties signed with the offensive. See, the offensive line look at you different. They look at you and say, okay, it's cold, but it ain't that cold. And anytime you get to skill position guys to come out there with no sleeves on, everybody play a little harder. I'm telling you, the defensive lineman is like, okay, I see you. The big dudes, oh, you out here with no sleeves on? Because let me tell you, when you get hit in the arms and it's that cold with the face mask, you want to die. You're just like, did he break my arm? He broke my whole left side here. And I'm glad that Deshaun Watson came and indoctrinated himself to the dog pound. Do we still have that, by the way? I don't know if they call it the dog pound. We got to work on that. We'll work on it. But the fans loved him. No sleeves, got his first touchdown pass. And I think he looked good doing it.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, take another look at some numbers from the defense, and hear from Kevin Stefanski. Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fan, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. After watching the game again, I did not like our run defense. Now, I know that the Ravens are probably the best rushing team in the NFL, but our defense was getting gashed. Dobbins was averaging 9 yards a carry, and Gus Edwards was averaging 7 yards a carry. That's just not going to get it done. But I will say that the most important thing is the scoreboard. A team can run up and down the field all they want, but if they don't punch it in, then it really doesn't matter. So I will give credit to the defense that they held them out the end zone and basically off the scoreboard. Also, Tucker missing the field goal and getting one block really did help. As far as the offense goes, you can see little by little Watson is getting much more comfortable. He was in full control of the huddle and on the sidelines. I watched him getting in teammates' faces and correcting them on the things that they were doing wrong. Overall, I'll give the team a B- for their performance. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, so how did they end up playing so poorly against the run and yet only holding them to 3? Take a look at this. Browns defense, 3 turnovers on downs. So they held on 4th down 3 times. A blocked field goal, an interception, a forced fumble. It all led to 0 touchdowns allowed. So they were coming up with those big plays that have been lacking. You know, those 4th down stops, the turnovers, all lacking really for the first part of the season.
Yeah, it was some of the old Marty Schottenheimer, bend but don't break. You know, if you can get off the field on money downs, and those are your 3rd downs and 4th downs, you can give up some yards. You can give up some yards here or there. And if you don't, and if the other team doesn't capitalize on field goals, 2 missed field goals from them, they weren't able to get on the scoreboard, weren't able to, get those points up there. So when you're playing in a close game, bad weather game, you can give up some yards if you're not giving up 7. And that works in principle, but what you got to think about, though, in principle that works. But guess what? That's not something that you can hang your hat on all the time, because good teams with their starting quarterbacks. So if Lamar Jackson's playing in that game, you got a different story, because now they convert some of those. Now the plays where Hundley might have been a little off kilter, hasn't been able to throw the football and move the chains. Now Lamar Jackson can do that with his legs or his arm. So, give them credit. The Browns did a really good job of figuring out what the Ravens wanted to do. They couldn't stop the run, but that's on the Ravens to continue to push the ball in and to score. There's been a lot of games where we looking back at it and they said, well, the Browns really controlled that game, and you look up and the score's different. Why? Because we weren't able to score touchdowns. We weren't able to, and when you get down in the red zone, we weren't able, to get those points on the board, or we went for it on 4th down and we didn't make it. So if you look at a lot of that stuff, it's just not the Browns that affects. It affects every team in the NFL, and that's why we were able to come out with a 13-3 win. But against good teams, it doesn't happen that way.
All right, Kevin Stefanski talked about Deshaun Watson and what he has seen relative to Watson evolving in the Browns offense.
I think it's a lot of things, simple operation things, and in and out of the huddle, and getting into the right looks, and for Deshaun, or really all the players, but just there's a comfort level that comes with game reps, and there's certain situations that come up in games that you cover a lot in practice. We've covered a lot of situations, and then sometimes situations come up in games that are unique, and it gives you an opportunity to cover them in the moment. And then this morning, sitting down and watching the tape with all the quarterbacks, we can go through all those moments and take our time and talk through them. So I think for Deshaun in particular, but for all our guys, but for Deshaun, getting into these game reps, getting into these situations, and understanding why we're calling things and how we're trying to attack the defense.
He talked last night too about having the game coming back to him, and particularly getting some swagger back. I know he's more of a quiet guy, but are you seeing that in maybe his demeanor as a leader too, as the weeks go by?
Yeah, he doesn't lack for confidence, and he's a great leader in the building, outside the building, on the practice field, in the locker room. So I do think there's certainly confidence that comes from playing and winning and those type of things. That always leads to confidence.
G. Bush, they only scored 13 points, but you could kind of see he's starting to understand how the offense works. There's that extra level that he's starting to understand? He's going to his second, his third options, those kind of things.
Yeah, and like you said, look, I said earlier, I didn't even see that clip. I haven't seen some of the audio from Kevin Stefanski in some of his sound. But, like we said, you're starting to get some of that swagger back, some of that juice, some of that energy. And that's the type of stuff that you want to see in these last few games. The season, people don't want to hear it, but the season, I call it a gentleman's punt. They really didn't punt on the season, but it was a gentleman's punt. I mean, it's kind of hard to make moves and not know what you're going to do when you don't have your starting quarterback. And I think it was really key that Jacoby Brissett played the way he did, because it was a gentleman's punt. It wasn't no out and out. We were sitting here and we've won 2 games and we're mad as fans, the media, and everybody's in a firestorm. Jacoby Brissett's play kept us in the game enough games where this season has not been a total throwaway. But what we needed to see and what we had to see is the ability for Deshaun Watson to look like a superstar, because that's the only way this is palatable. Because you got to think about it. Most of what we're trying to do is on the coach, which is Stefanski, the quarterback, and if we don't have the pieces and parts, we still need to go to the grocery store and get some more stuff. And if you don't got a number 1 pick for the next couple of years, that puts strain on your general manager. That's going to put strain on your coach. And so you need Deshaun Watson and everything that Kevin Stefanski may be lacking, the rah-rahness, or he may not be very vocal or outwardly. I believe you need people to play their roles. And the role of Deshaun Watson is this. You ain't got to hear from Andy Reid all the time. You don't hear, listen, the way Jalen Hurts is playing, I don't even know who their coach is. But when you got a quarterback and you got somebody putting points on the board, or somebody you can say that's the leader, that changes the whole perspective, and they need him to continue to grow, and he'll get more and more vocal as the play gets better.
Without question. So Jalen Hurts, his coach is Nick Sirianni from Mount Union. So local guy.
Oh, there he is. Shout out to Mount Union Papa Raiders.
G. Bush and I will step aside, take a quick time out. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as 92.3 The Fans, the barbershop on Saturday mornings. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, hi, this is Ron from Cleveland, and just wanted to call in and talk a little bit about the game against the Ravens. I noticed the stadium had a different feel. There was electricity in the air, and it just seemed different. The Browns played great football. The defense was swarming. Deshaun Watson is looking more at home in the backfield. We got Nick 20 carries. We know what happens when that happens. DPJ is probably on the verge of turning the corner to become an elite wide receiver in the NFL. David Njoku, solid as a rock. Cooper, open when we needed him open. Deshaun with his legs when we needed him to run. He was there and picked up some big chunks. He's making great decisions, and really the only thing I'm sorry for is that we had to wait 11 games to get him back. I have a good feeling that next year the Browns are going to be a force. The way the defense played, I haven't seen Denzel Ward play that good in a long time. He was intercepting the ball. He was making some great open field tackles. The whole team just seemed like they were playing different football than I've seen them play all year long. And as a Browns fan, what I'm living for is to see the boys get to the big show. And it could be our year next year. I know I say that every year, but it could be our year next year. Love the Browns, love your show, and as always, Cleveland Browns, woo!
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, what about the vibe? Was there a different vibe down, around First Energy Stadium?
Yeah, here's why I'll say it was a different vibe. I've said it was cold as heck out there, and we were out there over at 92 through the fan. We're doing the pregame show. We're down there 4 hours and 4.5 hours before kickoff, all the way up to kickoff. And I'll tell you what, there were so many people that came around and just were excited to get to the stadium. You know, it was surprising because this game was a game that, guess what? There wasn't much to play for, right? The Browns had like a 2% chance to go to the playoffs. But this is a game in which you look at this thing. These guys were excited. The fans had a buzz. People were enthusiastic. And I think it was the 4 o'clock atmosphere where it was kind of snowing, but it was just classic football weather. It was one of those games where you've always imagined as a fan where the Cleveland Browns have home field advantage. You know, a team from Kansas City or San Diego has to come into First Energy Stadium, and it's cold, it's blustery, and it's one of those games that, you know, you're going to have to come in and win and earn. And then for the first time, it was almost as if we had the advantage because we knew that we had a guy that was better than our other guy. And it was the first time we got to see Deshaun Watson here in the home stadium. And I think that energy and that buzz when he hit his first couple throws, people were just like, oh, let's go. Let's get it going, man. And it was a different type of energy. And I think the energy comes from the believability. Sometimes you can have a quarterback, and that quarterback can be playing well, super well, but you just don't believe it. You don't think, like, if we had to go play Mahomes today, we don't believe that we're up to snuff. They got a quarterback, for lack of better terms, that they believe it. They believe that once he gets it going and everything is figured out, that they're going to have one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and they can play against anybody. And I think that's the electricity that was transferred to the people in the stands, and it was what made it that palatable that night.
Well, the other thing is, you know, Deshaun Watson getting more and more comfortable. Watson talked about where he sees himself improving in this Browns offense.
All around, just everything, just, you know, from the swagger to operating the offense, being able to, you know, control exactly, know where everyone is going to be, when we need to, you know, call a timeout, when we don't need to call a timeout, when we need to go for it. Just overall, just everything. Football is coming back each and every week, and that's my job. Like Mal said before, you know, it's just, I don't need to come in and try to do anything special. You know, if we just come in and I just do my job as a quarterback, then everything is going to, you know, come in place.
And the offensive line is something that has to get used to Deshaun Watson. So take a look at this. This is impressive. Browns offensive line thrived in pass protection against Baltimore pass rush, allowing 0 total pressures across 33 pass blocking snaps. That's according to Pro Football Focus. Again, G-Bush, that's a big thing. The other thing is they got to get used to run blocking a little differently because Deshaun Watson thrives in shotgun. That's different.
All of that's different. Pass protection is different. The steps, the level in which you got to kick slide. See, before they don't do too many 7-step drops with Baker. They're not going to do too many 7-step drops with Jacoby Brissett. But now you're in the shotgun, so now you already know it's back there. You know it's pass. A lot of what the Cleveland Browns were doing was just getting guys open. They're just like, oh, you know what? Boom. I'm going to get it to Jacoby. Jacoby's going to be boom, 3-step, play action, 3-step, quick stuff. Now, it's a difference when somebody knows you're passing and they know you, and I know you passing, you know they passing. So now it's one-on-one. Now you're going to give me your best moves. It's hard to run up and down the field when you don't know if it's run or pass. You got Nick Chubb in the backfield. That's a different set of responsibilities as defensive linemen. Now you got guys that are going to know it's passed down. And plus you're going to have to be able to learn how to move and set on the run. There's a lot of times where now Deshaun Watson may scramble. He may move up in the pocket. He may extend plays. So now before, you're not expecting Jacoby to Brissett to take off and run. You're just knowing that I got to hold my block as long as possible and keep guys off of him. Now you may have an issue where you could have a legal man downfield. On the RPO stuff, you can have guys downfield too much. And that's a very difficult balance to have. Nick Chubb is a guy who you can give it to him. And guess what? You want to be blocking for Nick Chubb on the RPOs, but now you got a situation where Deshaun Watson might be throwing the ball as well. So it's accustomed to it, figuring out how long do I have, and here's another thing. Sometimes if you get beat and you got a quarterback that's a statue back there, that's called a lookout block. Look out. You turn around and say, look out. Hey, don't do that. Look, he's coming around the corner. But when you got Deshaun Watson, what you can do sometimes if you get beat, you just say, I'm going to let him go because I think Deshaun is a better athlete than him and he can get out of there and make a play. So you don't have to hold. You don't have to grab and tackle a guy. And I think sometimes that's just a field thing of knowing what type of playmaker you got in the backfield, whether it's a Deshaun versus a guy that's a little more upright statue like Jacoby Brissett.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we will head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Also take a look at some Nick Chubb stats that are impressive. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, Saturdays from 8 till noon. Also, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yes, fellow Cleveland Browns lover. I saw the show, and I think you guys misunderstood my last question about Joe Woods. I said, yes, he needs to be fired, but I didn't say, like, right now. I meant, like, after the season. Who would you want to see at the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns? A lot of people keep going around saying, oh, Miles is going to leave, he's going to leave. I doubt it. We signed him to an extension. It's very unlikely that we're going to get rid of one of the best defensive players in the league. I think a lot of people seem to misunderstand that, one, he came back from a horrific car accident. Two, he's in pain and they're double teaming him every time we play our opponent. I just want you guys' thoughts on that. One more thing, what is your thought on Deshaun Watson so far? I feel like he's going to be really good. I want to see some linebackers for the second round, and I want us to have a premier wide receiver for him. I want the Browns to make a huge trade, and I want them to get DK Metcalf because if you remember correctly, we had a chance to get DK Metcalf, but we ended up trading the pick to get Odell Beckham Jr. I just want you guys to start. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of them. A lot in there. So, G. Bush, I've been on the record as saying I want a guy that is a veteran. I don't want a younger defensive coordinator. Like a Mike Zimmer type. There may be other ones, but somebody that has had even some head coaching experience, almost like a Bill Callahan on the defensive side of the ball. Somebody that Kevin Stefanski can say, take care of the defense, and you know, I can go from there.
I like Brian Flores a lot.
Yeah,
got head coaching experience.
Yep.
He's aggressive. I like guys with a different demeanor. I believe if you're going to have a Kevin Stefanski on the offensive side of the football, you know what you need? You need a guy that has that nasty dog attitude. And you watch what the Dolphins used to do when under Flores. You know what he got? He got 9-10 dudes at the line of scrimmage. I know for a fact he'll put them in a position where Denzel Ward can play aggressively. Myles Garrett is going to be able to play aggressively. I like what he's able to bring to the table as far as that. I like I like Zimmerman, but he's with Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, then plucked him out of the way and took him to Colorado, so he off the table. But there's a lot of other guys out there that would be great. You know, and I knew we knew Kevin Stefanski wasn't going to move on from Joe Woods. That's not his mantra. I think people got to realize in the coaching profession, coaches are very loyal to their staff. They brought him in there. He's not going to move and fire a guy by the holidays. It just ain't happen. Like, hey, Joe, yeah, come on in here real quick. Yeah. Hey, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, and happy Merry Christmas, but we got to get rid of you and keep it moving. And based on the conversations that his defensive assistant, his defensive backs coach said, there ain't really nobody they can switch it to.
No,
He's talking about it. We had a good time. We had a tough time adjusting. No, that's not the guy we want moving into that role. In terms of the DK Metcalf stuff, I mean, it's kind of tough. We already under the cap a little bit. Plus, we don't have first-round picks for a couple years. So I don't think a DK Metcalf is going off the board for like a 4th and a 5th and some points, like some cash money. Like that on top of deals, that's not going to work. So you might have to go in the draft and develop somebody and be and earn your money, Andrew Berry. But DK Metcalf is that's a far shot.
Yeah, I don't see that either. You got Amari Cooper, and I don't think you're bringing in anybody above him. But you do probably need another veteran to go with Cooper and DPJ.
Speed guy.
Yeah, I would agree.
You need some speed.
Yep, somebody that gets some separation, because Deshaun Watson will throw the deep ball if he has somebody that separates. All right, Myles Garrett talked about how the defense played against the Ravens.
I'm sure who we can be. Just have to put it all together. Tonight it came all together with Denzel getting the pick, us stepping up and starting to stop the run more efficiently, and then JJ coming downhill, being a run stopper and pushing the ball out, and then come down to the end of the game, the D-line closes the show. I mean, it was never in doubt. The kind of fight, the kind of guys we had in this locker room. I was never worried about the kind of heart they were going to bring to that field, because I see it every single day. I know how much it means to them, and though our record's not where we want to be, we still have those guys who are going to play 100% and give everything towards a game they love.
And G. Bush, the only thing they weren't stopping the run enough. That's the only thing. And that concerns me, because you got Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara coming in Saturday. So it's not like we're getting any easier.
I see what you're saying, big fella. I see where you was trying to go with it. You know what I'm saying? You kind of just throw that on top. We're stopping the run more efficiently. So here's the thing. They got to stop on 4th down. And that, the 4th down, they gave it to a fullback. He got knocked sideways. I get what you were saying, but the volume and the yards was still there. They just didn't get the points on the board. But, hey, we'll take baby steps. So I'm not going to argue with you. I think one thing Myles Garrett has done is he's, a lot of people were a little upset about the whole Carr thing. I think he's made up for that. I think he's playing hurt. I think he's playing injured. I think he's playing less than 100%. But you look at his numbers. Myles Garrett does. I mean, he's got 13.5 sacks. All Myles Garrett does is get you about 15 to 17 sacks a year. You quietly look up. He's got 42 combos, 14 assists. He got 13.5 sacks, and this is coming off a 16-sack season. So, if he was playing this well for a team that was a contender, say he was playing on the Kansas City Chiefs, or say he was playing on a team like the Ravens or the Bengals, he'd be up for Defensive Player of the Year. But since he plays for the Browns and they're out of playoff contention, and they had more hopes and more aspirations than what they've gotten to at this point, he's just having another pedestrian Myles Garrett year. But I don't think people understand just how good he is, because they don't really understand the double teams. They don't really look at the PFF grades. And to be honest with you, you got to look at it like this. I don't know nobody in the history of the Cleveland Browns that got 13 sacks before. And this is a light year. This wasn't even a great year. This is 13.5, and he's doing pretty good, 90 on PFF. But if you look back through the time, and I'm going back all the way back, I don't know any other defensive lineman that was getting over. Cameron Wembley had 10 sacks one year. Courtney Brown had like 9, and we went crazy. I just think it's just one of those things where you kind of take it for granted that he's going to have a great year.
Yeah. He's doing everything that you would expect a number 1 overall pick to do. He's justifying that high draft status. Every year you get that production. All right, before I let you go, let's take a look at this. 2022 fourth quarter rushing yard leaders. The Browns put this out. So number 1 in the NFL Nick Chubb, 413 yards, 6 touchdowns. Again, this is only in the fourth quarter. Number 2 is Miles Sanders for the Eagles, 337, 4 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley is third, 322 and 2 touchdowns. Chubb has also recorded 16 rushes of 10-plus yards in the fourth quarter. No other running back has more than 12. So when you give the ball to Nick Chubb in the fourth quarter and you're trying to run the clock out, good things happen.
See, they good. You see what the Browns did right there. Y'all hear us talking. Y'all be hearing us all the time. We're gonna put this stat out. It shows that Nick Chubb is better than everybody in the fourth quarter. That'll debunk that whole theory. They don't give him the ball enough. Okay. It was a good stat. I like what you did right there. But we want that more. Like, we feel, we see it. We know what the stats is. We know what the numbers look like when Nick Chubb get over 20. And I already understand it. I get it. Y'all knew it was a gentleman's punt this year too. And I get it. Y'all made the decision early this year to say, look, we're not going to have Nick Chubb try to be Superman or Captain Kirk. He's not going to come in here and we're not going to give him the ball 30 times a game like Derrick Henry and wear all the tread off his tires in a season that we might not think we can probably reach where we want to go. So we're going to save some of those carries. What if we save 10 carries here, 5 carries here, and then we can carry those carries over to now we get to play with Deshaun Watson, right? So Deshaun, he's going to be rusty at first, but now we carry it all over and we can get these guys to hit the track running at the same time. We're going to have a prolific offense. And I get it. I understand it. But, and Nick Chubb is never, because of the type of person he is, he ain't never going to say nothing about it. He's going to do exactly what the organization asked him to. But Nick Chubb this year, I'm going to keep it real, could have got 2,000. He could have got, the way he was running football, there's no doubt in my mind. People looked at me when I was crazy. I said, man, look, no disrespect to Emmitt Smith. Nick Chubb to me is better than Emmitt Smith. People looked at me like I was crazy. What? Now, listen, the longevity, you got to play for a while. But when you talk about skill for skill, pound for pound, a carry for carry, I just think he's a better player. I think Nick Chubb is going to go down if he has a long enough career as one of the guys who is probably one of the top 10, 15 running backs in the game. That just is what it is. And he's a better person. The way he does it is always going to go a long way. And just the way he plays the game, I appreciate myself.
Yeah, I agree with you. If he can get enough years in the NFL, I'm with you. He'll be one of the top 10, 15 running backs in league history. G. Bush, as always, great stuff. I appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man.
G. Bush, make sure you check him out. 92.3 The Fan. You can get him on pregame show. You can get him on the Barbershop, 8 until noon on Saturdays. You can also catch him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. Jackson McCurry straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hello, Dave. Howard from Marin County. Happy that the Browns have won. A little disappointed that the Browns don't score more points. Happy that Deshaun keeps on getting better and better. I believe Cleveland needs to get someone like Jamar Chase that can really just take the top off of things that would really help things out. Also, I think the defense still needs someone to stop the run, and Joe Woods needs not to be there next year. Thanks a lot, Dave. Great show. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Jackson McCurry, co-host of the Dawgland and the Top Dogs podcast. Jackson, I agree about Joe Woods. I don't see that. I think they need an identity transformation. They need some defensive tackles. Finding a guy like Jamar Chase, there aren't many of them, but to his point, they need somebody that can get deep, and I think they need kind of a veteran. Somebody to go with Amari Cooper and Donovan. Don't get me wrong, I like Donovan Peoples-Jones, but Deshaun Watson can throw the ball deep. You need to find someone that can get deep.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that this wide receiver room needs is someone, like you said, someone to take the top off, a speed threat, a deep threat, because Cooper and Peoples-Jones, while they can get downfield, they don't have that elusive breakaway speed that someone like a Jamar Chase or a Tyreek Hill has. And that's what this offense has been lacking. Obviously, they tried with Anthony Schwartz. He has not worked out for them. They don't have the draft capital to get it. The free agent class doesn't look very strong at wide receiver. So Andrew Berry and the front office is going to have to get creative in that aspect to try to find someone, whether it's a veteran or they find somebody in the middle rounds, somebody that can take the top off a defense is something that this offense seriously needs. And I hope they find it this offseason.
Yeah. And again, guys like Jamar Chase don't come around very often. That's but if you find one, I see where you're going with that. Myles Garrett talked about what he has seen from this Browns defense as of late.
We're taking the ball away a little bit more, and I think we're showing up some of the glaring mistakes that we were making. Making sure that we're attached to guys, and I think the linebackers, even with the injuries, are coming downhill, making plays, through their gaps, and getting more TFLs and more run stops, making teams have to drop back and throw the ball, and they're in trouble when they do that. But at the end of the day, we are where we are, and we have to carry that momentum through the end of the season and into next season. And we can't forget what we were doing and how we prepared, and the plays that we made to get where we are. Especially after this game, you want to keep on stacking these wins. And when you look back, when you start watching film, when you're sitting with coach, during the off season, you look back at what you did and how you prepared, and that's something to really stack upon when you're trying to start off another season, coming out hot.
In Jackson, the run defense still struggled. I think it was over 7 yards a carry. Now they did get stops, they did create turnovers. There were 2 fourth down stops, but you're not going to get where you want to go if you're giving up 7 yards a run.
No, not at all. And it was amazing to me that Baltimore decided to abandon the run and kept throwing. Like 2 out of the last 3 weeks, Houston and Baltimore, Cleveland has somehow tricked the opposing offenses to throw more when, the run defense has obviously been the sore spot for the team. But, kudos to those offensive coordinators for deciding to throw. Myles said that, they're generating more turnovers, which I think is a big thing. The defense has played well, but they've also played 2 below average quarterbacks in the last 3 weeks. So not getting my hopes up that the defense has turned the corner. But, if they want to make these teams with bad quarterbacks continue to throw, I think that only bodes well for the defense down the stretch.
Yeah, the linebacker and defensive tackle have got to – I almost think they have to change what they're looking for in them, because it seemed like there was a mindset that said, okay, we're going to dare you to run on us. And most of the defensive coordinators said, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, talking to Jack Duffin, who's been on this show, they have focused more on pass rush and coverage, which means they're going to not spend as many resources on linebacker and defensive tackle, which obviously you still need. So, yeah, they're daring teams to throw, but then these opposing offenses have said, okay, we'll run and we'll gash you in the run. And that's why the run defense, I think, has been so bad, is because they haven't maximize the resources to shore up D tackle and linebacker, like you said. So they need to tweak their system a little bit. I think they're really good at corner. Edge outside of Myles Garrett is definitely iffy going into 2023, but they do need to patch up some holes a little bit more at linebacker and defensive tackle mostly.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's see how they address that. Not a lot of capital as far as the draft goes. They don't have the first-round pick. They can find a way to create some salary cap space, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, before we go to break, Week 15 Studs and Duds is from Dog Pound Daily. Studs, Ronnie Harrison, John Johnson, Grant Delbert. So 3 safeties, Deshaun Watson, and Myles Garrett. So 4 of the 5 that come out as studs are on the offensive side of the ball. Duds, Cade York, Wyatt Teller, and Kareem Hunt. And let's start with Cade York. That's a guy that we're starting to find out. You know, the weather in Cleveland, it's December, so I'm not ready to give up on him, but let's let him try to figure this out.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning when you see the misses. They're starting to be really bad, like some really bad shanks out of York, and that's not good. You know, there was the theory a couple weeks ago that it was the holder's fault, but I think Jay Feely said that he's watching York specifically, and it's whatever he's doing, like his trajectory, the way his foot plants, like there's issues there with York. I'm not ready to give up on him either because we've seen him make some unbelievable kicks, but the misses are really bad, and I think that's very alarming. I would wonder if they're going to bring competition in for him this offseason. I think it's a must. I was shocked they didn't during the offseason, but yeah, that's quite alarming what he's been putting together lately. Not totally concerned yet, but definitely alarmed.
Yeah, and again, it's got to get fixed. They sunk a lot into him to get the results that they're getting. The safety room, that's another one when you look forward. They don't really have a guy that plays free safety, and that is a need.
Yeah, definitely. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks on the podcast that I thought they haven't had a true free safety since Demarius Randall back in 2018. You know, John Johnson and Grant Delpit have been playing out of position when they play in that role. I don't think John Johnson will be here next season. Grant Delpit's going into a contract year, so that's definitely going to be interesting to see how they approach the safety room this offseason. Ronnie Harrison's also a free agent, but they've been playing well the last couple weeks. But, yeah, they definitely need to make some changes in there. And a true free safety, I think, would be the biggest need in that room especially.
Yeah, don't ask guys that are used to playing in the box to play free safety. It's not a good idea. All right. Jackson McCurry and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of Truth and Reason, we'll also take a look at Kevin Stefanski. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
We continue talking Browns with Jackson McCurry, co-host of the Dawgland and Top Dogs podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, it's Mike down in West Virginia, major Browns fan. All this talk about Kevin Stefanski possibly getting fired. I like Stefanski. Looks like he has structure. He's always even keel, no extremes. But I got to admit, I think on game days the job is too big for him. I don't think he makes adjustments well. He may be buddies with his coaching staff, which is a bad thing because it's hard for him to step in and take over when needed. In my opinion, everybody says, well, who are you going to get? I like Mike Pettin. When Mike Pettin was with the Browns, we had discipline, a lot of stern talk. He was pretty even keel, but you could tell when he was upset. You could tell when he was happy. He ran a tight ship. If everybody thinks back, Mike Pettin had this team, if I'm right, at 7-4 and in first place with Brian Hoyer before Ray Farmer and the front office forced Johnny Football on him. And we know the problems Johnny Manziel had, but I really liked the direction that the team was going under Mike Pettin, and we did not have near as much talent at that time as we do now. So just my thought. Take care. Love the show. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jackson, I liked Mike Pettin. I don't see them going back to that. He was Green Bay's defensive coordinator. It sounds like they're probably going to be moving on from him, but I thought Mike Pettin did a nice job. It never works when you go back. You can't go back to the future. And I'm not ready to give up on Kevin Stefanski by a long shot. Now, I might have somebody else call plays because of, not because he's not calling plays well, but because plays and game management, I think the plays are called pretty well. The game management, I don't know. I have some issues with that, I guess.
Yeah, I also liked Mike Pettin too, but yeah, you can't go backwards. There's a similarity between Stefanski and Pettin is that they both had bad run defenses to work with. So, but yeah, I'm not ready to give up on Stefanski. He just became the winningest Browns coach since '99, which I know isn't saying much, but he's done a good job in 3 years. Yes, there's a lot of things that I wish he would want to say that he wish he could fix, but overall, I think he's done a good job. He's dealt with a lot of big situations during his time, but through it all, like, he's gotten these teams ways to win when coaches in the past wouldn't have won. So, yeah, I'm definitely not ready to give up on Stefanski. I'm also not ready to give up on him calling the offense. I think, yes, they've struggled the last few weeks, but obviously they're adjusting to a new offense with Deshaun Watson. But overall, I think he's done a really good job so far as Browns head coach.
Yeah, and again, the only thing I would say is some of the game management stuff, yeah, I get it. But you know what? Play calling, you're never going to agree with a coach's play calling. So take a look. Kevin Stefanski, 25-22 as head coach. With 3 games left this year, means he will be the first Browns head coach since 1999 to have a 500 or better record after 3 seasons. He's one of a few that has lasted 3 seasons as Browns head coach since 1999.
Yeah, like I mentioned, he just became the winningest coach. Romeo lasted 4 full seasons. Butch Davis lasted 3.5, and Stefanski's already surpassed both of them in wins, and he's about to complete his 3rd full season. So that's pretty crazy. I seen Quincy debating, do people think Kyle Shanahan's a good coach? Because Kyle Shanahan's right around 500 as a head coach during his time in San Francisco. So, yeah, you can compare the two based on win-loss record. Shanahan is a great coach. I think Stefanski's a really good coach. I wouldn't say he's great yet. Anxious to see what he does with a full season with Deshaun Watson. But, yeah, I mean, the fact that he's about to be over 500 after 3 seasons and no other coach in Browns history, at least since '99, has been able to do that. That's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, and again, there hasn't really been a normal offseason for him. You had COVID, and then the Deshaun Watson circus. So, and you really couldn't plan because you didn't know definitively how many games Deshaun Watson was going to be suspended for. And again, people who are detractors are going to say, well, I mean, they're just facts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you got to think he's dealt with the Baker situation, the Odell situation. But I mean, yeah, he's dealt with a lot. This will be his first normal offseason coming up, we hope. Hopefully there's no other anything that'll really cost him an offseason. But yeah, I mean, he's dealt with a lot his first 3 years, and he's still an above 500 head coach. I wonder if they're going to sign him to a contract extension this offseason. I think he's got 2 more years left after this year, but he's dealt with a lot, and through it all, he still has found ways to win. Not as much the last 2 seasons as we have liked, but overall, I think he's done a good job despite all the situations they have thrown at him.
All right, before we let you go, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason one last time.
I saw a couple little YouTube videos about, is Deshaun back after 3 games? Is he truly at 100%? But in my opinion, the scary thing about it, yeah, he played good, but there's still more that Deshaun does well. I think Kevin and Alex are still trying to find out. And once he's at 100%, it's going to be scary. Now teams are going to have to worry about, is Deshaun going to take off or is he going to air out our defense? Our schedule next year, we're going to face the NFC West, so I think we have a way better shot at beating those teams. So, yeah.
All right, as always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jackson, it's going to be an evolution. I don't think you're going to see it this year. And, some people have kind of come at me because I said I thought it was going to be much better. But I think you can see glimpses of what this offense can be.
Yeah, for sure. I think week by week, through the first 3 weeks, he has gotten better and better. He seems to getting more of a timing and chemistry down with the receivers. you'd like to see more out of the running game, and I think that'll get there. And like you said, it'll evolve as the offense continues to evolve, as well as the timing with the offensive line. They're not used to dealing with as a mobile quarterback as Deshaun Watson is compared to, Jacoby Brissett and Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think this offense will continue to evolve down the stretch here. And then in 2023, I think you will see what the true potential of this offense can be as well. So, yeah, I think he's getting better. I think the next 3 weeks, he's facing a couple tough defenses in New Orleans and Washington and Pittsburgh. I wouldn't, get disappointed if he has some rough outings because those are good defenses. But he's looking better and better each week. He's looking more comfortable in this system. So I think once we get to 2023, I think you'll finally see the comeback of Deshaun Watson as one of the top NFL quarterbacks.
Jackson McCurry, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jackson.
Thank you, Dave, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you again, Jackson McCurry. Make sure to check him out, the Dawgland and also the Top Dogs podcast. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports4CLE.